Long ago, before time was measured by the rising and setting of the sun, there stood a mighty baobab tree in the heart of Nyamezi village. Its roots ran deep into the soil, deeper than any well, and its branches reached into the sky, embracing the stars. The elders whispered that the tree had stood there since the birth of the world, older than the mountains, older than the rivers, and far wiser than any man or beast. But what made the baobab tree truly special was not its size or age. It was said to be the dwelling place of a spirit, a gentle, watchful being known only as Nyamezi, the spirit of the baobab tree. Nyamezi was not seen by all, only by the pure of heart or those in desperate need. It spoke in rustling leaves, humming winds, and glowing moonlight. The people of Nyanda revered the tree. They left offerings beneath its roots, calabashes of palm wine, woven bracelets, and carved wooden tokens that in times of drought. The villagers gathered in a circle around the tree, drums echoing like heartbeats, calling on Nyamezi to intercede with the clouds. Their prayers were never in vain. Rain would fall gently within days, soaking the earth and bringing life back to their fields. One day, a boy named Lumo, curious and full of questions, approached the baobab with something different. He brought not gifts, but a question. Spirit of the baobab, why do you help us? To Lumo's surprise, a soft breeze ruffled the leaves, and a whisper came through the rustling. Because the tree and the people are one. Lumo returned home, repeating the words again and again. He didn't yet understand their meaning, but he knew they were important. Years passed, and Lumo grew into a young man with a restless soul. He loved his village, but something inside him longed for distant lands and unknown skies. One evening, he told his mother, "I will leave at sunrise. I want to see what lies beyond the red hills." His mother, with tears in her eyes, hugged him tightly. "Go, but remember the baobab, and remember who you are." Before dawn, Lumo knelt before the great tree. "Nyamezi," he whispered, "I go to seek my path. Watch over me." The leaves shimmered in the dim light. A lone bird called out, and the wind circled Lumo like a final embrace. His journey was long. He crossed wide rivers, scaled jagged cliffs, and wandered through golden deserts. In a coastal town, he learned the craft of carving wood. His hands remembered the touch of baobab bark, and he sculpted faces that seemed to whisper secrets. People admired his work, and Lumo became known as the Boy of Trees. But still, he felt incomplete. One night, under a moon that mirrored the one back home, Lumo dreamed of the baobab. It wept, its branches bare, its roots shaking. That he awoke with a start, sweat on his brow. A whisper echoed in his ears, "Return, return." Without hesitation, Lumo packed his things and began the journey back to Nyanda, the call of the baobab stronger than ever. When he arrived, he was met with silence. The village was not as he left it. Fields were dry, children thin, and elders weary. His mother ran to him, tears of joy and sorrow mixing on her cheeks. "Lumo, you've come. The tree is dying." He hurried to the baobab, and what he saw made his heart break. The mighty trunk was cracked, its leaves faded, and offerings lay untouched. He knelt at the base, placing his forehead to the bark. "Nyamezi, I am here. Why is this happening?" The wind moaned through the branches, faint and broken. "Because the people have forgotten." Lumo rose and turned to the villagers. "We forgot the spirit. We forgot our bond." Some scoffed. "It's just a tree," they muttered. "Rain doesn't fall from leaves." But others remembered the old songs, the sacred dances, the stories told by moonlight. And so, with Lumo at the center, they began to sing once more. Drums were brought out, and voices rose, calling not just to Nyamezi, but to something deeper, the soul of their people. The sound of the drums vibrated through the earth, awakening memories buried in dust. Children who had never danced before found their feet moving with the rhythm, and the elders swayed, eyes closed in remembrance. Lumo stepped forward and sprinkled water mixed with herbs at the base of the baobab. "May your thirst be quenched," he whispered. The breeze grew stronger, swirling around the villagers, rustling their garments and lifting ashes from long cold fires. A faint glow returned to a single leaf on the baobab's tallest branch. That night, dreams came to the people of Nyanda, dreams of green fields, full rivers, and a baobab blooming with starlight. Elder Mshale, who hadn't walked in months, stood up the next morning without his cane. The spirit is listening, he declared. Lumo knew the healing had begun, but the connection needed to be rekindled with more than song and ritual. It needed truth and sacrifice. He began gathering the youth each evening beneath the baobab, telling the old stories again of how the tree first rose from the tears of a sky goddess and how it cradled the first ancestors. The children listened, wide-eyed, asking questions their parents once asked, questions only the baobab spirit had answered. One morning, a girl named Shani approached Lumo with a bundle of woven grass. "I made this for Nyamezi," she said shyly. "My grandmother said the spirit loves green things." Lumo accepted the gift with reverence and placed it at the tree's roots. The earth seemed to hum in response, and 2 more leaves unfurled. Word spread to neighboring villages that something was happening in Nyanda, something old, something powerful. Curious travelers came, some with offerings, others with questions. And each was welcomed, because all were part of the spirit's memory, but not all welcomed the revival. A man named Bako, bitter from past grief, stirred dissent. "This is foolishness," he barked. "Our real needs are food, trade, and weapons, not songs to invisible spirits." Some nodded in agreement. They had seen no rain, no miracles, only stories and shadows. One evening, Bako stood beneath the baobab with an axe in hand. "If this tree is divine, let it stop me," he shouted. He raised the axe, but before it could fall, a gust of wind knocked him to the ground, and a deep groan echoed from the earth itself. Everyone froze. The ground beneath the baobab trembled, and the sky darkened with sudden clouds. Bako fled, eyes wide with terror. He was never seen again in Nyanda. The villagers looked to Lumo, who stood calmly, eyes closed, whispering, "The spirit has awakened." That night, the first rains came, not in torrents, but in a gentle, steady drizzle that soaked the earth and brought joy to every face. Streams that had been dry for months gurgled once more. Crops began to sprout with surprising speed. The baobab glowed faintly in the moonlight, its trunk smoothening, its branches stretching wider. Nyamezi was not just healing the tree, it was healing the land and the hearts of the people. Lumo was called Makwasi wa Midi, he who speaks for the trees. But he knew he was only a vessel, a reminder, not a savior. Each full moon, the village held a Yusaku wa Mizumu, night of spirits, around the baobab. They danced, sang, and told stories of ancestors, gods, and the bond between people and nature. Children like Shani led processions with lanterns and flower crowns, placing them around the tree's roots with care. Even strangers from far kingdoms came to witness the wonder. They brought their own tales, gifts, and prayers, enriching the spirit's memory. One such traveler was a blind griot from the north named Kibo. He placed his hand on the tree and gasped. "I see it," he whispered. "I see the spirit." He sang a song that no one had heard before, one that spoke of trees walking, of wind carrying laughter, and of stars that whispered secrets to those who listened. From that day, Kibo remained in Nyanda, composing songs for the baobab. "There is no blindness here," he often said, "only vision." And the baobab continued to grow, not just in size, but in spirit. Its bark bore carvings of moments, faces, stories, symbols, etched by generations who now remembered their sacred bond. As the seasons turned, the baobab's canopy widened, its shade stretching far across the village. Children played beneath it, elders rested under it, and lovers met by its roots. The spirit, Nyamezi, no longer whispered only through wind. It lived in laughter, in song, in the heartbeat of the village itself. Lumo, now grown and wise, sat often beneath the baobab in silence, feeling its rhythm echo in his chest like a second pulse. One dusk, the spirit spoke again, clear and strong. "The bond is restored, but the world is wide, and many trees still weep." Lumo understood. Nyamezi was not bound to one village, one tree, or one name. Its roots connected all who respected life. He gathered a group of youth, curious minds, brave hearts, and quick feet. "We will journey," he said, "to carry the song of the baobab to forgotten places." They called themselves Watoto wa Nyamezi, children of the spirit. Before they departed, each laid a hand on the trunk, swearing to honor the tree in every step they took. The village sent them off with music and gifts. Shani, now a strong young woman, gave Lumo a pouch of dried baobab fruit. For strength, she said with a smile. Their path led through valleys cloaked in mist, hills overrun by thorns, and villages swallowed by silence that I in one such place. A land called Lenga. They found a grove of dying trees and people who feared even their own shadows. The spirit here had been forgotten entirely, buried under years of war, greed, and sorrow. Lumo's heart ached, but he did what Nyamezi had taught him. He listened. He sat in silence beneath a crooked tree and listened to the wind, to the earth, to the pain of the people. One child, barely old enough to speak, approached him and whispered, "Do trees talk to you too?" Lumo smiled. "Only if I listen closely." Enough. And so, they began the work of healing through stories.